Inspiration for knitting projects can be found anywhere. Like for example, this branch. This glorious, rugged, structured branch with all kinds of lichen and moss. Isn't it gorgeous? And wouldn't it be just goals to just resemble that? Yeah, right? Thankfully, I have the perfect yarn to make something, to be able to, for the tiniest bit, resemble this branch. Do you all remember my tiny Tour de Fleece side project on my Turkish spindle? These were 3 bats created and gifted by my friend Mars. And I think that if knit up, this would look so much like a tree branch with lichen and moss. And that's the vibe! That's the vibe! It's the purest vibes! And now, even though I can perfectly and comfortably still film this outside, it's still warm enough, I think we should prepare for winter. And there is one thing about winter that always annoys me a little bit, and that is the fact that my studio gets so cold that my fingers almost feel frozen when working on projects. Now, last year I found the perfect remedy for that. I used to be actually pretty skeptical about the efficiency of these things, but yes, fingerless mittens, fingerless gloves, they have saved my crafting over winter. And I love these a lot, my Rohan mitts. However, I don't know if you can see it, but they are pilling quite a bit. This is made mainly out of polwarth, and polwarth is a delicate fine wool, not really entirely made to put up with all my goblin shenanigans. So I feel like I need a second pair of very goblin-esque mitts just to keep my hands warm while crafting in autumn, winter and the beginning of spring. And those 200 meters of handspun branch with lichen and moss yarn is going to just fit the bill perfectly. I have told you that for my project with the wearable yarn that I spun during Tour de Fleece, I wanted to design something myself. And I think that this is also a good opportunity to practice a little bit that creative inspiration, design kind of mindset that I need to be able to design an entire sweater. So I'm going to use my stitch book to find something that I want. I want something that also emulates that structured, cracked feeling of that branch in my garden. And right now my eye is falling on what de fantasiesteken van Fildaar number 2 calls verspringende valse patentsteek. If I translate this, it would be alternating faux brioche. And it looks like this. I think that will be the front of the mitts, and then I think I will just do the palms with regular stockinette. What I also want to do with these particular yarns is that I think they would look really good as a gradient, which means I have to split each of these skeins in 2 so that I can work with them for both the mitts, Woo! I'm having to explain stuff that sounds so logical in my brain but just doesn't come out of my mouth. 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17... Before I can start with the actual knitting and this designing of these mittens, I kind of need to know what my gauge is in this stitch with this yarn on these needles. I actually chose these needles because I think, 2.5 millimeters will probably fit this yarn, and also they themselves just look like tree branches, and I thought that would fit nicely with the theme. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to make a little gauge swatch of the pattern. Now, the only thing I really need to know is how much stitches I need for my circumference. Like the length I can still see whenever I'm working with it, but I just need the width. My 30 stitches is a little bit too wide. I want to end like here, around 9 or 10 centimeters, and I am between 12 and 13. I have 7 pattern repeats in this, and I think I can go with 5. Yeah. 6, maybe 6. Let's go with 6 pattern repeats, which would be 24 stitches. Now, following the logic that is a tree, we will start with the skein that has the most brown in it, and then end with the skein that has the most green in it. I think I have in a previous video told you about my collection of Arcopal lotus dishwares and cups and everything. It still is my favorite motif, you know, abstracted vintage folky flowers. Now, while we were on vacation, my brother-in-law went to the thrift store and bought me an entire Arcopal set of dishware. It's not the lotus, it's the Scania, so the one with the smaller flowers. He texted my husband if he should buy it, even though it's not lotus, and I initially said no, don't, but then my husband says yes, do buy it, and I'm glad that my husband said yes, because my initial response was, no, I'm collecting the lotus, I don't want the Scania, let's just keep our cheap IKEA dishware until we find the entire lotus collection. But the lotus is like the one everyone wants, and nobody wants the Scania apparently. But somehow, even though this is not, you know, the dishware that I want, it's just giving me so much joy to eat out of these nice, pretty floral plates. I just had reheated kimchi fried rice. It was the best kimchi fried rice because it was in a pretty plate. And that is, to me, kind of also the reason why I am designing or wanting to design some stuff myself, because it brings just so much joy to have and use things that are exactly my aesthetic, that are just so pretty, you could die for them. I want my entire world to be so full of nature-inspired things, like floral plates and tree bark mitts. Yeah, moss mitts, I want moss mitts. I have about 3 centimeters of this now, but it is already gorgeous. So I'm at the height of mitten that I want to start expanding, increasing for the thumb. But what I'm going to do first is frog it all and start over. Because I think I personally will like them more if they were just a bit tighter. If I would have gone with 5 repeats of this pattern instead of 6. Just, I like my stuff, my socks, my mitts, to feel like a big hug, to be kind of snug, and this isn't. I think I can ditch 8 extra stitches, and then it would be perfect. That's what we're going to do. I mean, I kind of imagine that is what the process of designing stuff is like. Just trial and error and seeing if you like it. I don't know, I have never actually designed a thing, only adapted from already existing patterns, and designing my own things is actually like the level of craft intelligence that I want to reach, like being able to have an idea and then just make it come to life, having that understanding of my craft, of being like, oh yeah, if I do it like this, this and this, then I have the thing I want. That's the goal, the level I want to reach, and I'm, as I said, trying out small, and I think I should frog it. And I also think I should make the ribbing a bit longer. I like the aesthetics, the visuals of ribbing, and then only having like 8 rows of it, that just doesn't seem right. Anyway, so yeah, I spent an entire evening knitting this thing, and I will frog it all, but it will not be for nothing, because it will make sure that I have mittens that fit me the way I want and that look the way I want. A little update. You know how I started with this alternating faux brioche stitch? I scrapped that idea. I completely frogged my mitt. I wasn't feeling it. You know, the palm side of my mitt, the stockinette side, was looking better than this side, and that's not really what you want if you're designing your own mitts, right? I mean, that's not what I want, so I tried a different stitch, this one, which is called Little Windows, and yet again, it did not convince me. It was not better looking than the stockinette. I am now at my 3rd iteration of this. I have a full arm of ribbing, because when I start with ribbing I can't stop apparently, and now I've got these little squares. No, that's not what it's called. And well, I like them because they are mostly stockinette. I think this yarn just wants to be mostly stockinette. So I've added a little bit of texture on top of said stockinette, and I think this is going to work. It also looks like the ridges on a tree trunk could also be like a beehive, but it's not hexagons, but what's the name? Geometry. It has decided to leave my brain. Anyway, I think I can continue like this and be happy with it. That's the nature of designing, right? You just try new stuff, realize if it works or not, and I think this works. This works. The last time I saw you while I was working on this project, which I will admit is probably months ago, I gave you all a big thumbs up. I'm going to retract said big thumbs up right now, because I think I can do better. I love the design. There is nothing wrong with it aesthetically. I still think this is a good choice. It looks like tree bark, exactly what I want. However, it doesn't entirely fit me the way I like, especially on the thumb. I think I need more spaced out thumb increases to make the thumb sit nicely. That's what I'm thinking. So once again, we shall frog the mitten, and maybe that's also a good start to start writing down whatever the hell I'm doing with this. I'm not going to publish a pattern, don't think such high of me. Not at all, but I might just write down what I do and post the instructions as a free thingy on my Patreon, so you can check out if you want to make these, but don't hold me accountable for any mistakes or if this does not fit you. Especially if this does not fit you, because making this has given me so much respect for knitting designers. I'm just draping this over the shape of my hand. I'm not even trying to make it, you know, match a commercial size or something. I don't know what size this is. This is just my hand. And this is already proving to be rather challenging. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's challenging. I've been starting over a couple of times, and I cannot imagine doing this for people you don't know, for people that can't like come in and fit every 5 seconds. Knitting designers, you have my everlasting respect. This actually has been a great exercise in frogging. I have no negative feelings towards frogging anymore whatsoever. I mean, they have increased over time naturally. I'd rather have a nice looking, nice fitting garment, but like having to frog at least 4 times on one little mitten really has made me desensitized to the disappointment that is having to start over. This is special yarn to me. I want this end project to be perfect, extra special. Yeah, and I will do whatever it takes, even if that means frogging a 5th time. As I am knitting and filming in an unheated area, I've brought some extra heat. I mean, technically, this room, this place, this studio has a heating system much akin to a ventilation system that can also blow around hot air. However, it is so noisy, it makes it rather impossible to film in here when that is running. So I have to find alternative ways of warming myself, like fingerless mittens, as we are making a 2nd pair of. I'm also just going to use my scarf as like a bosom friend. Extra core warmth, this is like the 4th wool layer around me. And then I brought a quilt my best friend made me to give my lap a little bit of warmth. And yesterday was Sinterklaas, so I have some chocolate covered guimauve to warm myself with some extra fuel. If you're not a Belgian, you probably don't know what guimauve are. Guimauvetjes are a kind of marshmallowy like candy made from marshmallow root. They're very sweet, very chewy, and this one is covered in chocolate. I added the equivalent rows of 1 diamond in this pattern extra to my mitten before I split for the thumb. And this feels a lot more comfortable. It's not pushing down here. So yeah, I think this is a nice length for my hand. Now what is still happening though, and that's just because I chose this pattern and I will not be able to remedy it, is that I think the piece on the back of the hand is shorter than the palm because of the way these stitches are configured. But for now it is not bothersome, it is just a little more visible now that there are extra diamonds in there. But yeah, let's continue for a couple more centimeters up until here. And then we have our first mitten. Oh well, we also need to do the thumb. But then, yeah, I think I have the right shape and size for this mitten now. Oh hey, there will be no more frogging on this right hand mitten. It's done. It's nice, it's long, it fits comfortably. Now it is almost 3:30 in the afternoon. It's starting to get a little bit dark outside. So I think I'm going to go inside and try and finish my second mitten, like in a more cozy, probably warmer atmosphere than this. I don't think I have to talk to the camera as much. I can just relax and don't care. It's not that I don't care about you, but I don't need to care about talking to you, because I think I have said everything I need to say about this mitten, but apparently the solar panel converter wanted to say something as well. Anyway, maybe one thing. I want to say one more thing. So I had divided my yarn into a sequence of 3, like mostly brown, brown plus green, mostly green. And I thought if I like follow them up one after another, it'll look nicely like a tree. I mean, it does still look nicely like a tree, but I almost haven't used the entirely green bit of my yarn. And that's a pity, because it is lovely. It is very good yarn, and I want it to be prominent. So I think I will reverse the color sequence of the left mitten. So I will start and then have the ribbing to be mostly green, then the green plus brown, and then the mostly brown on top. So it's like the opposite of this one, and then all the yarns get an equal opportunity to shine. Move over, girl boss. We shall be girl moss. I will become a tree. I've got lichen sprouting from my fingers. Look at them. They are so good, and they positively remind me of the friend that sent me the fluff back in June. So I am very happy. And right in time, because actually we did have quite a mild autumn, but right now it is starting to become winter, so I might use them the next coming weeks whenever I am in this space and stuff gets a little bit colder. And then at least my extremities will not freeze off, or at least not my fingers. And now, as mentioned, I tried writing down what I was doing with these mittens as some kind of instructions. Call it pattern, maybe don't call it pattern. And I promised that I would put them on my Patreon page, but on the free page or the free tier, so that everyone can access it, because it is not tested, it is not tech edited, it's nothing fancy. Don't call it a pattern. So it will be there, but I cannot promise you that it will be there that by the time that this video is live, because frankly, I'm having a pretty stressful time at work, you know, with Christmas coming up and all other companies being closed at that time, so I have quite some strict deadlines right now. I will try to get it up this month. I will try. I'll promise nothing, but it will be there sometime in the future, maybe today. And again, it's nothing fancy, but if you want some help in making mittens that look a little bit like these because you like the texture, then you can find it there. But I will say it's not perfect, of course. My mittens aren't perfect. Like they do this little flippy floppy thing because, as I said, the pattern with the diamonds is shorter than the stockinette because this is a stitch that you don't work and then pull up, so all the stitches get smooshed lengthwise, and it's not happening on the stockinette side. A proper knitting designer would probably find a way to fix that, but I am not a proper knitting designer. I am just doing things over here, but I enjoyed doing this thing, making something that was entirely my vision, something that I, in my mind's eye, thought of and wanted to make with this yarn. And well, yes, I had fun with it. I will try this again, maybe on bigger pieces than just mittens. Yes, girl moss. Girl moss is today not apologizing for having reveal shots in the dark, well, with electrical lighting and inside, because you all know what winter is like, even if you're not currently living in the northern hemisphere. And apparently I apologize too much for stuff like that, according to you. So I'm not apologizing this time. Anyway, if you like these kind of fiber shenanigans, then maybe you could like, comment or subscribe. But of course, that is all up to you. And as for me, I will see you in a next video. But before we do that, maybe you could look at some more knitting shenanigans. Bye!